Although this is not a financial conference, you guys just released some amazing earnings. I was really impressed. I posted it on LinkedIn and Twitter, and it was a lot of feedback. And I think just seeing companies like yours do well is a barometer for the resellers out there, for the companies that are betting on you to run their communications. Give us just a quick overview of what you did, how you did, et cetera.
Yeah, look, the company grew 32%, but the part I want to emphasize is it grew because of people like you. As a company, the rap on us has always been, we're phenomenal at technology, and we took the so-called road less traveled. I'm a big believer that you have to get all the aggregated technology on a common platform. It's very hard to have one platform if you have 3 companies making up that platform. So over time, we bought 9 companies and aggregated it together. And I noticed there's a lot of partners out here that drove our earnings. Intelisys, I think, signed the largest cloud communications deal, I believe, in history. Rick Rebus is here. Sub-agent, I think Joe Monaco, Joe's here. Joe, I think literally from a standing start, had, I can't remember, 8 or 10 deals that just closed very, very quickly. Planet One, Microcorp, TBI, all of you guys. Look, if I had one song that kind of defined my life, it is, I get by with a little help from my friends. And so to us, we see you, I mean, we had this conversation yesterday. We will never recreate, nor do we want to recreate the relationship you have with your customers. We just want to make you successful. So the idea is to give you a comprehensive solution so you can go to your customers and sell them not just unified communication, but contact center, video conferencing, and now CPaaS. We acquired a company that allows you to do customization and CPaaS technology that is one of the fastest growing elements of our business, and the idea is to train all of you. And the other part is to do it through 2 very distinct routes to market. One is the master sub-agent, which is your primary base, but also to do it through the VAR channel, where we will essentially co-label our product and allow you to sell it right to your customers. Mark Morgan, I believe, from ScanSource is there. But one of the next big initiatives is, I think there are, 350 million on-premise seats that are out there up for grabs between the dinosaurs that are all dying. The goal is to get a very significant part of them, and the goal is to ensure that the next millionaires and billionaires come out of this room. And so I think that is the opportunity for all of us together.
That's a great goal, and we hope to help that happen, and we're thrilled to have you here and the companies that are working with you, making them successful. So the next question is, this is kind of a little on the personal side in terms of your background. You worked at Lockheed Martin, you worked in the supply chain. I'm curious, you're now in communications, you're in technology. How did that background assist you in what you're doing today?
Okay, I mean, my background's intriguing. I think I told you I ended up at Stanford. One of the interesting things I learned at Stanford is that I'm not that good. And Stanford, you had kids around you that blew your mind. I remember sitting in a statistics 116 class as a PhD student, and I was, the cream of the crop. And this paper came out, and this running back named John Volpe, who actually played with Doug Flutie, smoked me in the midterm. Like, smoked me. I was not even in the same league. So right after that, I helped start a company at right out of Stanford, which was the very first IoT company. So actually, we coined the phrase IoT at that time, which was using RFID tags to track cargo containers all around the world. And from a standing start of 3 to 5 graduate students, this company ended up selling about $1 billion of equipment. And every container for the US military, the UK military, the Australian military, as well as NATO, Singapore, et cetera, was tracked using Savvy's technology and was used for homeland security, where every incoming cargo was tracked from all ports so basically we built a global network, and it became essentially a managed service. You could literally know what was inside your container all around the world at any time. So that was the first real instantiation of cloud. Well, Lockheed Martin bought us, and so I then became, I guess, the youngest president of Lockheed Martin. I was running commercial business operations for Lockheed Martin, supply chain, and all of the other stuff. And so the lessons I have learned is, one, you can start from very early and build something really special if you have the right group of people and partners. The second part I learned is that the true scale of a global business, which is cloud, tracking every cargo container around the world, is the kind of effect right now communications can have. We're all dealing with coronavirus. I think the previous speaker even talked about the fact that people are starting to work from home. Well, guess what? Video conferencing, communications, just seamless communications between chat, voice, video is going to fundamentally change the way we operate. Think about it. The Mobile World Congress in Barcelona was canceled because people didn't want to be in the same room. Every one of you is now enabling the future where people can choose to be in a room or they can be just as effective working from home. So the effect that we can have today is the kind of effect that supply chain had years and years ago. And so those two backgrounds juxtapose each other. And this is where, frankly, I like to think, and I take great pride in the work that was done before I joined 8x8. This company is the ultimate, American success story in a lot of ways. It was one of the high flyers during the telco and dot-com boom of the early 2000s, and then it was the poster child for the telco and dot-com bust of early 2000. I mean, literally, the stock went down to 50 cents. And the company reinvented itself in VoIP with people like you, and the stock in 2009, which is less than 10 years ago, or 11 years ago now, was 47 cents, I think is what and look at where we are today. This is a story of perseverance, American ingenuity, and just drive. And also doing stuff the right way. Build your technology, test it out, make sure you keep your customers happy, and iterate. And when you screw up, admit it, don't hide from it, unsuck, and then get better, right? And as I said, to me, you guys are key. Because the way I see the route to market for all of us in global communication, look, our ambitions are very simple. We want world domination in a nice, benevolent way. But we just do want world domination. And the reach is only going to come from partners. Each of you satisfying your customer, one customer at a time, and us enabling you with technology to be able to satisfy your customers one customer at a time is what's going to allow us to ensure that communication becomes ubiquitous and seamless between voice, video, chat. And I think that's the whole idea of having one platform.
That's great. So what do you think the future holds for tech and communications? Where are we going to go?
In a weird way, technology goes through interesting booms and busts. I remember in 2000 where people kept talking about how technology was going to save the world. Then I remember in 2003, everybody said technology was the bane of everybody's existence. I think we are now, the market has spoken. If you think about it, the 5 or 6 highest capitalized companies today in the world are Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and you look at it and you go, every one of them is a technology company. 15 years ago, it was ExxonMobil, it was GE, it was those types of companies. So the fact that technology is here, and primarily digital technology is here to stay, and it fundamentally changes everybody's life. If you think about it, when you call your kids at the end of this conference before you go to that after party, you're probably going to use some kind of video conferencing to talk to your kids, right? A technology company came up with it. Technology has fundamentally shaped the way we live, work, and play. And as I said, we are in the golden era of technology. And so for us, I think there is no way but onwards. I think technology will have its share of stupid stuff. I mean, we have to make sure we are very cognizant about privacy. We have to make sure we're very cognizant with some of the impacts of technology in Silicon Valley, in particular, housing prices, making sure that you don't create haves and have-nots. Those are all things that we have to deal with. But I think it'll end up being more technology that'll end up dealing with it. And as I said, we all have an opportunity and a responsibility to make technology ubiquitous, and also at the same time, make sure that technology's weaknesses get basically looked at and addressed head on.
That's great. And there are a few technologies I wanted to ask you about and how you think the future will be and if it's affecting your business. Digital transformation, future of work, 5G.
Well, they're all, if you think about it, at the center of everything is communications. At the center of everything is collaboration. We are, when all is said and done, social beings. We all get better together. I've never heard of companies being built by individuals. I've never heard about even sales being done by one person. There's always an SC, a solution consultant, a channel partner, somebody from customer support, customer success. There's always all of us collaborating. And we're truly global now, right? So if you think about it, you have colleagues all over the country, all over the world, that all live, work, and play together, so that in essence, you're able to provide the best productivity improvement for your customers and for your company. And so what is the number one thing for communication? The number one thing obviously is communication and making it seamless between voice, video, and chat. Because if you think about it, how does communication often start? Early in the morning, it may be a text message. And you go, wait, that text message makes no sense. All right, I want to talk to that person. Wait a minute, the person told me no. I want to see him face to face when he says no to me and see if he still says no, right? And so you think about it, that seamlessness of communication makes it look like you are all sitting next to each other, because that's how you would operate, right? You typically get a email, go, wait a minute, don't like it. Maybe you pick up the phone, then you go, God damn it, I'm going to walk over to his office and sit down across the door, or, the desk from him or her. That's the way we used to all operate when we were all in one confined area. Now we do the exact same thing, but the one person may be sitting in Singapore, the other person may be sitting in London, the third person may be sitting over in Romania someplace. So that ubiquity of communication has really opened up the overall productivity, so we can leverage talent from all over the world. And what's the number one thing in order for communications to be successful? Bandwidth. That was why communication and the telco boom failed in 2000. Bandwidth was not ready, right? You remember that old AT&T video conferencing thing where you saw somebody's hand move like that? Well, bandwidth is not an issue, and 5G ensures that bandwidth will never be an issue. So from that perspective, as I said, we are in the golden era of communication, and I think all of you guys are at the forefront of it.
So getting back to the beginning of what you said, the text message that didn't make sense, just reminded me, and I just want to remind everyone else, don't text message from the after party. That kicked off the whole thing. Then your
Absolutely not.
Text messages will be easier to understand. SD-WAN and contact center are two hot areas. SD-WAN is relatively new.
Yeah.
Contact center is relatively ancient. And
Yeah.
I'm curious how those two are playing in your business model.
Critical. Ariaka, one of our partners is here, VeloCloud, a whole bunch of those folks. I mean, the main point with SD-WAN is the ability to ensure that voice quality is significantly better, and to do it without having to run MPLS and all kinds of stuff like that. So we are heading more and more towards the digital age, where you will have the ability to provide ubiquity of communication will not involve a truck roll. And that's what we're trying to get to. And so every technology that can make it seamless, where people can get cutting edge communication, do it without having to basically interact physically with somebody else, is the future. And so I think every technology that helps enable that is going to be key. Let me give you a third element, and this is one of the key parts that is important from one single platform, and this is where a lot of your business models are going to evolve to. When you think about it, if you have one platform for voice, video, collaboration, contact center, as well as CPaaS, and it's all in the cloud, what does that mean? All that data is aggregated together. The ability to go to your customers and say, hey, do you know that when you literally introduce this product, people in China call from 9 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, and this is what they have to say, and these are the 5 keywords they use, and they're all, unique. And therefore, the next time you introduce this, you may want to take this part of your business and really ramp it up. Or when you introduce red dresses, people in zip code 94022 love it, but people in zip code 93109 hate it. And here's how you can start to plan for it. Since communication is so ubiquitous, and since digital communication is the future, since less and less interaction face-to-face, all of this data is sitting somewhere, and you can look at trends, you can look at keywords, and you can start to anticipate, you can do artificial intelligence, as well as machine learning, and go in and be proactive about it. And again, several of you who are essentially VARs, that's your future.
So why are people picking 8x8 instead of competitive solutions?
One platform. It literally comes down to, there are several, there is the politically correct way of saying it, and then there's the unpolitically correct. The unpolitically correct way of saying it is customers like one throat to choke, right? The other people say, something about, drink from, there are probably nicer ways of saying it, but the point really is one vendor that provides voice, video, contact center, collaboration, and the ability to have all of that data in one aggregated way and to mix and match as necessary. From your perspective as partners, you can go to a customer and sell a contact center. Several of you did. And then right after the customer starts using contact center, say, hey, I'm using this other phone system. Can I go leverage the same point? Yeah, it's the same platform. Here's a little digital bit. Just enable it. Now you have a phone system. Oh, I'm using somebody else's video conferencing solution. Can I try your video conferencing? Yeah, you enable this bit. You can start with 10 seats, and eventually you can get to all. Hey, now I got all voice, video, contact center communication. Can I get trends on communication? What's going on? When is it going on? How many calls do I make? Who calls me? When do they call me, et cetera? Sure. Here are little dashboards that you can kind of do. But it's one vendor. Something breaks, it's not, hey, the phone didn't work, but the contact center was fine. No, the contact center was fine, but this particular video conferencing equipment broke down. It's all one company. And by the way, when you think about it, we're back to the future. What was communication years and years ago? It was not point solutions. One vendor, Cisco, as well as Avaya used to provide everything. Avaya provided in their own unique way with Nortel and all the other stuff, but in the end, it was one company that provided voice, video, contact center, as well as telepresence and video conferencing. And that's exactly where we're heading. Initially, it was very difficult for cloud companies to do that because you were a specialist. You could either provide voice or you could provide video, you could provide contact center. For us, we went down the road less traveled, which was not easy, but we did 9 acquisitions and we spent a ridiculous amount of money on R&D because we wanted to build one platform. Because we believed that this market is early stage. It's about, 9 or 10% penetrated? And so the point is, if you do the platform right, you are basically positioned for years and years of being able to deliver value to your customers. And so we did that investment up front. Some people are having to do it now, but we did it up front, and we think that's why this is going to be the golden age of communications.
And that actually takes me to a point that I remember when I met you some years back in Manhattan, you were extremely excited about the potential for AI and keyword spotting within conversations and being able to provide your customers with sentiment analysis. And could you just give us a couple minutes on that and just how powerful that is and will be?
That is incredibly powerful. And by the way, just to give you a sense, we acquired 9 companies, aggregated them all together, and then we brought in an engineering team from Splunk. Splunk is one of the largest data and intelligence companies around, and the guy who was responsible for cloud engineering at Splunk is now the head of engineering at 8x8. And it is amazing how you see, and by the way, our new CMO is from MicroStrategy, which also is a large AI ML type company. And so the analytics is going to be increasingly critical. We are in a data-driven age. Very simple things. We have had instances, and I use this because we use it ourselves, where a very large shareholder that only has 10 or 15 phone lines will call to get an extra phone and say, hey, I want you to give me 2 extra phones because of A, B, C, D, E. And they'll call a support center. And the ability to flag that and say, wait a minute, this person owns 10 billion shares, you better make sure that you give him the 2 extra $80 phones. That is really important. Or the ability to have expert connect. We've had instances where people have called us, and in real time we've been able to patch engineers in so that their problems get addressed because they're doing mission critical applications. So that ability, and then on top of that, literally the sentiment analysis where you can literally say, okay, this person called, their voice may sound mellow, but the choice of words is not, it better go to a supervisor right off the bat. Or this person talks loudly, but all the choice of words is fine. You can be mellow about it because it's a way you kind of personalize communication and personalize interaction. And so I think that is all of that is the future. One of the most fascinating applications that one of our customers is now heading towards is they're a large vacation rental company. So they're used to customers calling them and saying, hey, I just did this vacation rental, I showed up and I can't find the key, and oh, by the way, I'm pissed off. So in real time, it'll do the sentiment analysis and goes, okay, this one's hot, dispatch a property manager, right? Immediately, because they just rented that place in the Hamptons, and you know what? You don't want to piss them off, right? But the reality also is now they've added one more feature that through CPaaS that they'll be adding over the next few months is this whole idea that instead of dispatching a property manager, call comes to the contact center agent. Hey, I can't find the key, or the thermostat is not working, and I just paid $10,000 for this property, and this is ridiculous, and I'm pissed, and . And so the contact center agent can literally say, either dispatch the property manager, say, hey, do you have a mobile phone? Yeah, okay, I'm sending you a link. Just click on it and press accept. Now I have control over your camera. Can you point it at that rock? Do you see that rock? The key is not in front of the rock, it's behind the rock. Oh, you found the key. Or you see that thermostat? That red button, do not press it. It'll blow stuff up. Press the green button. In real time. And this is a demonstration I can show you today. Think about the change in productivity improvement because of something like that. And think of the value that you can provide to your customer with stuff like that. So that's where we are headed with AI, ML, sentiment analysis, CPaaS. The customization of the last mile, I think fundamentally will change loyalty. Because imagine that example of, I just rented a place for $10,000 and then I twiddled my thumb for an hour while the property manager drives up only to point out the key was right there. I may feel a little bad because I had the property manager drive up, but for about an hour, I was pissed off. Versus in real time with technology, a problem got solved and you were able to get maximum enjoyment of your investments. That's where we're heading with the future.
That's so exciting. Now, this last question may overlap with what you just said, but I'm sure many people that are considering either purchasing from you or reselling your services, they want to know what your strategic vision is for the future. What is next? What can you tell us about the short term, maybe in terms of M&A, in terms of R&D, in terms of new services that they can add on? You mentioned CPaaS. Where are things headed?
So I think increasingly you will see all forms of communication come under one umbrella, and the future will be around the analysis and presentment of the data. So think about communication eventually becoming table stake. Your phone, video conferencing, as well as your contact center, collaboration, CPaaS so that you can customize the last mile, but ultimately it's all the data. And I think there's a huge opportunity to do massive productivity improvement for your customers by leveraging the data. By the way, as one other element, we just introduced our video conferencing solution, and just over the last few weeks, we have really beefed it up and made it completely free. It is 8x8.vc, and the idea is free video conferencing for everybody, so that in essence, it's a good opportunity to do good and do the right thing at the same time. And so what we will do is to make that available and beef it up so that it's equal to anybody else's paid video conferencing solution. This is a scary time for all of us, and let's go, build on that. Thank you again.
And I've got to say, I'm not sure if I was a beta tester, but we did use it on Monday, and I was in the hotel room, and when we bring thousands of people, tech people, downloading or whatever it is you guys do on hotel Wi-Fi that totally eats it up, and we were still able to have a solid video conference. So it was impressive. So
yeah, no, this is a technology we acquired from Atlassian, which is an amazing company, and the team has done a phenomenal job for us. And look, it always comes down to people. I've learned one thing and one thing only. I think you go back to the lessons from all my years. 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 people that are great can do much more than thousands and thousands of people that are just going through the motion. And so, again, thank you for all the partners here that help drive our earnings. We look forward to many more years and years of successful partnerships. So thank you again for everything you guys have done for us.
And we should mention your companies in the exhibit hall. Is there anything else that the people out there who are interested, they need to know, or you want to share with them as we wrap up? Final thoughts?
No, John Delosier, our channel chief, who was just recently promoted to SVP, is here. John is available to answer any and all questions. I was teasing our partners. Make sure you tell John all the things we don't do well. And John is available 24/7. He lives in Fort Lauderdale. He will welcome any visitor to his house at all times because we want to get better together.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Rich, my pleasure. Thank you so much.